Welcome to the second video in this mini course, Reversing Your MS. This way of living is literally about reversing the damage caused by your MS and leaving the gear stick in reverse, so that instead of getting slowly worse over the years, your body actually functions progressively better. I can't tell you how many people with MS I've spoken to who have seen their lesions vanish and their symptoms completely disappear. This MS diet way of life really does cause a reversal in the autoimmune process that gives rise to MS. In the last video, we looked at the sinister process of inflammation, what causes it and what can be done to reduce it. We discussed the concepts of pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory foods and the huge role that they play in the management of our MS symptoms. Remember that the core purpose of this video mini course is to give you a strategy to take back control of your MS. Manage your symptoms naturally and effectively. Get your life back and start living again. This is a strategy that has worked for me and hundreds of other women with MS. And I'm going to give you a step-by-step plan to achieve this. In the next two videos, we are going to explore the 6 essential keys to staying well with your MS. First, we'll look at the 3 foundational steps, and then we'll look at the 3 next level steps. These are keys that have taken me just over 5 years to figure out. They have been researched, added to, tweaked, and I now feel that I have a solid strategy to stay well with MS for the rest of my life. My hope is that this will work for you too. I want you to feel a burgeoning sense of hope, that your MS can be managed and that you don't have to resign yourself to a life of worsening symptoms. I also want you to experience a great quality of life and say goodbye to pain, fatigue, depression, anxiety, and confusion. I want you to be in a position to tell your doctor what's best for you and not the other way around. You are actually the best person to be in charge of your treatment plan because you know your body so well. In this mini course, I'm going to share a proven strategy with you to help you come up with your own unique and highly effective treatment plan. This is a holistic and multifaceted approach to staying well with MS. I want to share with you what happened to me after I was diagnosed with MS. I stuck my head in the sand and pretended that nothing was wrong. I wanted to pretend that I did not have an incurable disease. I carried on with all my unhealthy habits and ate whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. However, it was during my worst relapse that I got the wake-up call I needed. I decided that it was time to take action. I hate to think about the position I would be in now if I had not made that decision to take action. And so the first essential key is decide to take action. My entire MS diet journey started with one simple decision. I need to take steps to change what I'm doing here because what I'm currently doing is obviously not working. I actually had to make a clear and firm decision and stick to it. At the time, it felt like this huge, daunting decision to make. But looking back now, it was actually an easy decision for a number of reasons. I was in pain, and I wanted that pain to go away. I also knew that if I didn't make the decision to bring about change, my symptoms were going to continue to worsen. I had read up and researched about everything that MS involved, and I didn't want to end up in a wheelchair. I wanted to be able to care for my family, fulfill my dreams, and be a contributing member of society. A dominating feature of this decision is that I knew it was for life and that I couldn't go back on it. I was all in, no turning back. Once I had made this decision to change, I was ready to have a look at the practical implications and outworkings. It's so important to start with a firm decision because firstly, it shows your commitment. This is vital for when the going gets tough or if you have a day when you fall off the bandwagon. If you're committed to something, you'll get right back on that bandwagon the next day. It also signals the start of something new and exciting, which spurs you on to take action. Making that decision is half the job done. I always say that the hardest part of something new is actually just making that decision to go for it. It's all downhill from there, with a few bumps along the way. So let's go back to my story for a few minutes, because I want to tell you what happened after I made that important decision to go for it. I contacted my nutritionist, who works from Cape Town, who has a wealth of experience treating any and every disorder with food. She has helped thousands of people recover from their illnesses just through changing their lifestyle. She gave me an eating plan which has formed the basis of my MS diet. Now, I've tweaked it and I've changed it over the years according to my research, and what I've come up with now is a strategy that I feel works extremely well for me and for those I've shared it with. Now this brings us to step 2, which is a focus on food. Now this is where it gets a bit more practical. Let's first look at the foods to avoid. Now we've already established that these foods are pro-inflammatory, which means they promote inflammation in our bodies, which is not what we want for healing. They have been shown to enhance and even cause inflammation in the body. They also leave an acidic residue in the blood, and remember that acidity makes us more prone to disease. These foods are harmful to us for 2 important reasons. Firstly, they promote inflammation, which is definitely not what we want. Secondly, they can cause an allergic response and an autoimmune reaction if they manage to pass through the gut wall into the bloodstream. Now this can happen if our guts are damaged. You can find a full list of the foods to avoid in the handout that I've made available to you in the resources section below this video. Let's move on to the foods to embrace. These are anti-inflammatory foods that promote healing in our bodies. They are nutrient rich and so contain the raw materials that the body uses for healing and reconstruction. They also contain antioxidants and disease-fighting compounds, which make your body work as it's supposed to, like a well-oiled machine. So on the foods to embrace list, we have fruit of all kinds, vegetables, your green, brightly colored and white, nuts and seeds, non-glutinous grains like rice and quinoa, wild fish, and your omega-3 oils like flaxseed oil. These foods will bring your blood pH to a more alkaline level. And remember that disease cannot thrive in an alkaline environment. Most importantly, these foods will make you feel great. They'll give you energy, a crystal clear mind, improve your sleep, improve your mood, and of course, your MS symptoms. Now there is another category of foods which I like to call the grey area. Now this contains the foods to potentially avoid. There are a few foods that don't actually fit into the avoid or the embrace list. You need to decide if these foods agree with you or not. They are traditionally healthy foods, so it can be confusing when you feel your body reacting to them. Now some people are allergic to them and experience an increase in symptoms, but others are completely fine with them. These are your legumes and beans, your coconut oil, citrus fruits, and eggs. And I'd also like to add alcohol to that list. If you're unsure whether your body is fine with one of those foods or not, do the 6-week test. Cut that food out for 6 weeks, then reintroduce it and see how you feel on it. So back to my story. I literally went cold turkey and cut out all the foods to avoid at the same time. The first few days were great, and then it started to get a little bit tough as the reality of what I was doing started to sink in. However, after just 2 weeks of eating this way, my symptoms had vanished, and I started noticing a few things. Firstly, I had so much more energy than I'd had in a long time. I could think clearly again after feeling like I had a blanket on top of my head. I was sleeping more deeply, which was absolutely wonderful, just to get some more rest. I'd also lost a bit of weight, and I felt great. I felt like I'd stepped out of a dull, grey world into a world with beautiful, vibrant colours. The change was stark. It was absolutely amazing, and it was very clear to me that I had definitely done something right. I had gone headfirst into this new lifestyle, and I had just done it. I was so proud of myself. However, after a few weeks of eating pretty much the same thing every day, I realized that I needed a little bit more variety in this eating plan. I also needed greater structure, which meant that I had to start planning. Before launching to step 3, I want to briefly chat about the benefits of cutting out all the foods to avoid at the same time versus cutting them out more slowly, one at a time. Firstly, it backs up your big decision. When you're doing something this big, you may as well commit to it fully and not half-heartedly. Secondly, you'll see results much quicker. You're also less likely to eat the wrong thing because you're all in. I found that if I allowed myself to eat just one thing on the avoid list, I ended up eating anything and everything that I wanted to eat. Now, I actually did things the wrong way. I just launched into this lifestyle without any proper strategy or planning. I just knew that I needed to do it. So I set a start date, had my last hamburger and fries, and then went for it. I kind of knew what I was doing, but I think it would have been a much smoother ride if I had a plan in place. If I could do it all over again, I would have had a clear strategy before I started. My first piece of advice to you on planning is be very clear about exactly which foods you are going to start avoiding and exactly which foods you are going to start embracing. Secondly, do a big clean out. It's very important to get rid of all those old junky foods that are just going to lie around tempting you. Thirdly, write up a weekly meal plan. Just one, don't overwhelm yourself. You'll find an example of a meal plan in the resources section below this video. Fourthly, go grocery shopping. You'll also find a sample grocery list in the resources section. Now use this list to make your own grocery list according to the meals that you've planned in your weekly planner. Now, you don't need everything organic, but there are a few fruit and vegetables that are more susceptible to farm chemicals than others. These are called the dirty dozen. Make sure that you find products that are preservative-free. This is especially important in dried fruits and products like desiccated coconut oil, where preservatives like to hide. Also be aware of refined sugar content and try and find items that have more natural sugars in or that don't have sugar in at all. Check the label for artificial sweeteners, which are extremely harmful and toxic for the body. These could be aspartame or perhaps sucralose. Also beware of junk food gluten-free products. Now, these are the gluten-free products on your usual supermarket shelves, which look pretty healthy until you look at the ingredients label, which is full of unhealthy fats and sugars. My last piece of advice on this topic is don't forget to buy snacks. Snacks are terribly important, and they'll really help you when you are absolutely ravenous and really just need something to eat and you're out and about. Go for preservative-free dried fruit, nuts. There are also a few healthy breakfast bars or date bars on the market these days, so do your research and stock up on your snacks. You won't regret it. So we've looked at the first 3 foundational keys to staying well with MS. Step 1 was all about making that firm decision to take action. Now, this sounds simple and obvious, but it's actually incredibly important. Without that feeling of commitment, the temptation to give up in a weak moment is just too big. Step 2 focused on the foods to wholeheartedly embrace and the foods to avoid like the plague. It's so important that you are exceptionally familiar with these lists. There will be a few foods in the grey area that could potentially cause a negative reaction, and it's up to you to figure out what these foods are and whether you can still embrace them or whether you need to start avoiding them. And in step 3, we looked at having a plan for getting rid of the nasties, planning all your meals, and doing your grocery shopping. In the third video of Reversing Your MS, we'll look at the next level steps that are going to take your recovery to the next level. We'll be discussing how to deal effectively with stress, and this is just as important as eating the right foods. We'll also be looking at the best exercises to do for MS. And thirdly, keeping your mind in the right place. I really look forward to seeing you in the third video.